Hey guys, it's Billyrood from 58 Magazine, and thank you for joining today's video. And this video is about your future self experience, or about changing your old neuronet and neighborhood of limitation and survival into a new neuronet of abundance, unconditional love, excitement, and bliss. Out of all my sessions and all the information that I've accumulated, I feel like the most important thing to understand about transformation, you have to rewire your entire consciousness. And in spiritual terms, this is considered rewiring or reprogramming your neuronet. So basically, your subconscious is where all your fears live, where all your unconscious programming live. And in order for you to transform your life, you have to become aware of all that subconscious programming. So then you can become more aware and change that programming into a life and a neuronet that's a new neighborhood, a new frequency of thought. And this new neighborhood is compiled of thoughts, new experiences, and new desires. And so when you learn about transformation and spirituality, you have to understand that in order for anything positive to come into your life, you have to become aware of yourself. Become aware of the inherited AI ego mind that is full of negative and limiting thoughts, which I call programs. And when you become aware of that, then you can understand your reality. You can't understand how to transform unless you start understanding and becoming aware of yourself. So in this human experience, we all inherit programming for the first 7 years of our life. And that programming could be due from karma, just being unaware of yourself, or the whole idea of transformation and consciousness is to learn that we are unlimited potential. And then when we come into this reality, we experience limitations to help us then remember our true self. And our true self is this natural state of joy. And if there isn't joy in your life, is because you're focusing more on your fear, or you're unaware of your subconscious programming, and that's where all that fear lives. So I want to share with you an exciting new service I'm offering, because I understand that it takes so much inner work to transform your life. And it's not necessarily difficult, but it is challenging, because the first thing you need to do is become aware of yourself and become aware of all the ways that you don't live passionately in your life, where you don't care, where you don't necessarily live in that joy and that bliss on a daily basis. And then when you become aware of that, aware of the thoughts and the beliefs that keep you from living that way, it's the dark night of the soul, because you're realizing you have to experience pain to crack open that ego shell that you've been living in safety and in survival mode. So then the light can enter you. Basically, so more information, more knowledge will have to break open your ego shell of limitation, so then you can experience more light and more love. But until you experience the education and the transformation of emotional pain, you can't rewire your neuronet and you can't change your reality. And most of the time, in order for that to happen, you need a teacher, you need guidance, or you need a challenging aspect to help push you and overcome your programming and face them and realize that they're not necessarily real. They're just there to help you on your journey. Because right now, with all this energy, everyone's thoughts are being displayed in a much more instantaneous way. Your manifestations are going to happen a lot quicker, the good and the bad, until you become aware of the universe saying, this is what you're thinking. And if you're suffering, this is your divine wake-up call to be like, you can change your entire life by becoming aware of why you're suffering due to your thoughts, limiting beliefs, and then shift it to what you want. And this reality is getting more complicated and tricky with its ego games, because you're being presented with so many lower frequency experiences. And if you watch the news, especially, it's like 24/7. Or if you're in politics, it's kind of the same thing. So until you realize that you have to stop looking outside of you for change, you have to realize the outside of you is you. Your thoughts, beliefs, and your idea, perception of yourself. So if you're afraid of reality, it's because you're afraid of yourself. If you're angry at reality, it's because you're angry at yourself. Reality is basically your mirror of your emotional state. So the state that you continuously sit in, that you're comfortable in, I call it an addiction. Your emotions are an addiction until you start living at heightened states of emotion, which is joy, excitement, bliss, opportunity, potential, because you're just still operating from your neuronet, your inherited AI neuronet, which is repeating in your mind all the time until you realize this is just a program. These are just installed in me. Until I become aware of them, I can't transform my life. And until you start meditating, some people do journaling, all these other practices that you can do, breath work, shadow work, alchemy, none of that really matters, because in the end, you're still trying to escape the pain that you have to experience in order to crack open your shell of the ego. And until you experience that pain, it's almost like giving birth, like for women, giving birth to a child, it's like giving birth to a new reality. They have to experience all those emotions, all that pain to push you to birth something due to unconditional love. And until you realize that that's what you have to do for your consciousness to transform your reality, then you're going to stay always in survival mode in fear. So this is kind of the summary of reality and what I've learned from my experience of teaching clients, from attaining knowledge, my own experience of transformation with my teacher, myself, reality, every limiting reality that I experienced, such as like a career, money, relationships, and my health. I've realized it's all because of my own emotional state, my own beliefs about myself, my own limiting programming about all those things. So until you can become more unconditionally loving and accepting of your imperfections, your negative behaviors, it can't transform. And that takes a full ego death where you have to surrender. You have to let go of all the programming in your mind about being right, about judging anything, because really you're just judging and being afraid of yourself. So that pain that you have to experience is so important. And sometimes you have to do that alone, unless you're with a conscious partner or you have a community around you to support you. You can get motivation from them to transform and change. But in the end, this is an inside job. You kind of have to do it yourself. And you can't look for other things outside of you to necessarily transform you, because you have to do it until the universe is like projecting your own doubts, your own fears, and you realize that. Then you have to realize like, oh, this is just, I'm perceiving myself in this reality. And that's why some of it isn't, it's an illusion. They call it an illusion because really it's just telling you who you are in that moment. And so in the new service I'm offering, not that it's like I'm saying, it's not like another tool that you need. It's more like something that I know will help you if it's hard for you to spend time to meditate, or if it's hard for you to know what that emotional state is that you want to live in because you're so used to the programming and the reality that you're kind of addicted to. So what I'm presenting to you is an experience of your future self that can help you reprogram your neuronet by understanding your past, so then you can really dive into what you really want in your future. So I call this the future self experience, and it's using all my gifts and talents as a creative and as an emotional, intuitive, passionate leader to experience a design reality and film for you to help you rewire your consciousness and your neuronet. So instead of living in this old neuronet of your past that you're not aware of, I help create the images, the dialogue, the affirmations, and the emotional state of your new reality. So by watching it's basically training your subconscious to live in a new neuronet. And this is what I do in my guided meditations, where I help you understand, get in your body, realize the frequency that you're at, help you transform that frequency into a new frequency, a new neighborhood, basically like dialing a new phone number and living in that and making sure that becomes more real than the physical. And then helping you to live in that new neuronet, that new frequency, until it transforms your reality. And it depends on where you're at to how long it takes for you to live in that new neuronet and the discipline and the concentration. So with meditation, I think it's so powerful because it forces you to concentrate. It forces you to use your energy in a positive way to create something new. And so I just take that concept from my guided meditations and work with you to understand your current neuronet, and then help you to create the new frequency, the new neighborhood that you want to live in, the new reality. So then you can understand how powerful you actually are, and that there is nothing to be afraid of. Because fear is just a program. It only exists inside of you because you focus on it more than joy, which is your natural state of being. You have to understand that there's a lot of people running around what I call they're kind of like AI robots, not aware of their programming. And yet they could be living their life in a certain state of survival mode, and it could seem normal to them. But when you feel their energy and understand that they're just unaware of the programming, the survival AI ego mind that they're living in, their subconscious, there's so much potential that they could be living. So this is something that I really, really want to share and explore with all of you, because learning this is going to be so beneficial to your life. And because you have to understand that most people have the same relationships, the same issues with their career and job, or the same health issues as if when they're 20. Because a lot of people keep reliving the same relationships because they're not aware of the first relationship they had that really benefited them or really hurt them and their trauma. They're just reliving that neuronet every day, every relationship they have. So you have to understand that your neuronet is the key to transforming your reality, and becoming aware of your neuronet, of your programming, then you can transform everything in your life. Because if you just take a moment right now and think of all the relationships you've had, there's something possibly repeating as a pattern over and over. And that all stems from maybe your first relationship, your first meaningful relationship, whether it ended good or bad. So they keep repeating in different people because that you're still living in that neuronet. And until you want a better relationship, a more unconditional loving, a positive, very passionate and ideal relationship, you have to become your neuronet so you can transform it. So this future self experience is not just a deeply personal but emotionally charged short film, but it helps you to step into that new neuronet of your future self. Not just like a fantasy or a visual imaginative practice, but an actually felt reality, because that's the key. So it's not just visualization, it's neuro-emotional recalibration, because that's what you need to do in order to transform your reality. You need to change your emotional state, your neuronet, and then live in that calibration, become in tune with that new reality. And so I began this process with a powerful intake session. So we dive into your past, your present, and the reality that you desire to create. And then so these questions will unlock your core beliefs, your unconscious patterns, any childhood conditioning, and emotional wounds, along with your goals and deepest desires. So the full spectrum of your entire energy. And that will help you shape, or help me understand what's shaped your neuronet. And then with that information, I hope to rewrite it. We take the emotional truth of your story, which is the full acceptance of yourself. And then with that process, you start to take full responsibility of your life, because that is the key. You can't keep living life without taking full responsibility of it, no matter if it's imperfect. No matter what, if you could be doing more, you could be making more, you could be running a business, you could be following your dreams, instead of living in a comfort zone, you have to take full responsibility that you made those choices. And until you do that and sit in that pain, then you can start to let more light in, more energy, more love, more self-love, because that's the only way for you to grow, is to experience the pain. That's how your neuronet expands. Those neurons that are being held together in that current neuronet, when they let go of that programming and connect to new ones, that emotional pain is just the experience of that energy being released and reconnecting. So that's the part of the process of enlightenment, of transformation, of almost every great film you see. You know, when Luke realizes his ego, Darth Vader, is his father, and he experiences that pain, that's the emotional journey that you need to take, where you become fully responsible of what you're living in, of what your neuronet is currently. And then so we take that emotional truth, craft a cinematic script that blends with subconscious healing, that heals those patterns, that heals that non-awareness of yourself, and create your new reality consciously. So this includes scenes of your dream life, visual symbols that subconsciously give you the emotion of love, freedom, abundance, vitality, perfect health, and peace that you want to feel every day. So each moment is infused with your own personal affirmations, which I'll script and give you so you can hear yourself talking to yourself in a new way to make you feel like this is you becoming your future self. And they will have elevated emotions, archetypal imagery that speaks directly to your super consciousness. And so this is the movie where you become the main character instead of being an extra or an NPC that you've been living currently. And then this will get you on your highest timeline that you can generate at your current state. And then it'll keep building and building, and you'll feel that energy returning back to you because you're no longer limiting your energy under the heart. And then you'll be more creative, you'll be more loving, you'll be more accepting, you'll be more compassionate, and more excited about your life in every moment. And this will help you bring your future reality to life through powerful visuals, like I said, the voiceovers, like I said, music, and frequency tune sound design. So this frequency tune sound design is basically going to help you stay in the new neuronet frequency of your desired reality. And with this energetic intention to help you transform your life, this future self experience will become a total quantum embodiment of the reality that you only want to experience. Nothing else. Just pure creation. Because if you start to watch something like this daily, it'll rewire your current identity from a neurological and biological level to your future reality, your future identity. And this is extremely powerful because that's how you transform your life. The people, places, things, time, events will then start to transform completely all around you. You know, the current status of where everything is in your life, that all can change. And it always only changes when you change. So this future self experience isn't just meant to like inspire you, but it's help you to discipline you and transform you. Because when you watch something consistently, especially in a way that's consciously creating a new reality, something that you want, your brain and body begin to flow and fire new neural pathways. And these neural pathways, when you feel it and you believe it, you become it. And so that old neighborhood will disappear. That old illusion will vanish, and your new reality will be something you step into and start living on a daily practice. And so this is going to be depending on your story and your future reality that you want. It'll be from like 2 to 4 minute film, and it'll be a very cinematic experience. I also want to know, like, what are the movies you love? What are the things that inspire you and excite you? And that'll be filled with that. And this guided process will help you to embody that and experience it on a daily experience through repetition and that heightened emotion. That heightened emotion is what's going to get you out of that old neuronet neighborhood. And so this is a tool to help you break free from old patterns, self-doubt, and any survival programming, because that's the entire purpose of this reality, is to exit that and live in the heart where there is no fear. Because when you live in the heart, you just know you're consciously creating your day. And if you are aware of that, why would you experience fear? Why would you create a experience that would not make you feel good? Because that's only a pattern of the ego and of the mind, because it lives in pain. It's been abandoned. It doesn't have love. It has all this knowledge and information, but doesn't know what to do with it until there's passion behind it, until there's leadership and emotional integrity. Like I always say, a great example is like just running a kitchen. You know, right now, if your reality in your kitchen doesn't taste that good, isn't a successful business, is because the main chef is not using quality ingredients, which is quality thoughts. And so when you experience a reality that doesn't have abundance and customers, or a reality that's like full of joy that you're giving to people, it's because of your thoughts. You don't have any passion. You're living in a survival-based neuronet and fear, and you're programming. And so for you to change that, someone from a tool can come in to help you, be like, you need better ingredients. Your food needs to be fresh. Your thoughts need to be aligned to what you want, and you need to change. And then when that changes, everything else around you will change. This is what I wanted to share and present with you. I hope this is something that's interesting to you, and if not, feel to email me with any questions, or even if you are interested and want some more info, I can offer a free consultation, 30-minute call, and also join my 58 membership so you can experience this process on a micro level in my guided meditations. So again, this is a future self experience, and something that you can manifest and create from within. You don't need anything outside of you. You just need to do the work that gives you the tools to go within, and then practice that every single day. And if you're curious to know what type of questions I ask in the intake session, just to give you a little idea, couple is like childhood and family. Those are very important because that is a mirror of the karma that you've had from past lives, to understand like this is the work that you must do to create that new reality and heal. And then any trauma or healing that you'd like to share. This is all determined by what you're comfortable in sharing, but the deeper you go, the deeper your healing will be. Your history of relationships. I feel like this is very important if you want to create a really happy romantic relationship, because we look through all your relationships and see, are you currently repeating the same pattern over and over again, and not realizing that the things that are happening to you is because of your own neuronet that you've just been unaware and living in. Then we talk about your work and professional goals. You know, what are your aspirations? So I know what really drives you, what's your passion in life. And then along with personal goals, you know, what do you want to accomplish with your body, your health, your mental state, you know, your friends and your family. What does that look like? And how can we learn about your personal strengths and weaknesses so they can heal you to become more positive and more confident in your life and express yourself more? And then we talk about sex and intimacy, because that goes hand in hand with creative energy. That again is whatever you're comfortable with, but to understand how to raise your energy, you know, all energy is creative and sexual energy. So not that we have to talk about that specifically, but there's a lot of programming about sex and intimacy that keeps people from being comfortable with it, from thinking that it's a natural and blissful state and experience in your life. So by talking about that, we can understand if that's blocking your energy from rising and getting into your heart, being more comfortable with yourself and being fulfilled in your life. You know, having a partner that fulfills you, that you're satisfied and you're happy. You know, these are all things to learn to help you get out of the old neuronet. And then anything about health and wellness. You know, what does vibrant health look like to you? Are you currently experiencing the opposite of that? Any past injuries and stuff like that, to help you understand, you know, how you think about you, because all health and physical manifestations are due to your beliefs about yourself, your beliefs about the world. You know, are they positive or negative? And so by understanding your health, we can understand your own beliefs about everything, about your neuronet, and then where you want to go in a new neural net. And then we talk about spirituality and your self-connection. You know, how do you feel about yourself? What practices do you use to connect to your higher self? How do you like to describe your ideal emotional state? And all those inner conversations about your inner life and inner world, and help me to understand where that is, so we can understand where you want that to go. And another aspect, your financial freedom. You know, what does your financial abundance look like? What does freedom in your life look like? Your lifestyle, emotional state, and your self-worth. So all that is asked in the intake questionnaire, which takes about 1 to 2 hours, depending on how deep you want to go. And then for that, I take that information, create a script for the film, and then have you record some of the affirmations so you can hear yourself while you're watching it, and then create your future self experience. So that's the full experience of creating something like this. And if you're interested, just go to 58magazine.com. There's a link to learn more info or set up a call to, you know, talk about it. And I'm only here to help you transform your life, because, you know, the more and more we do this and help each other, the more and more this reality will turn into a positive, abundant, and unconditional loving reality. So again, this is about the future self experience, how to change your old programmed neuronet and live in a new neighborhood, a new neuronet of a future reality that you want to experience. And all it takes is understanding all this about yourself so you can transform it into what you really want. Because right now, unless you're happy having in a reality of financial abundance, happiness, unlimited creativity, and unconditional love and perfect health, you're living in a programmed neuronet of lack. So we just have to help you dial that new frequency into the new one, and then start practicing and living that you're already that person, you're already that frequency in your day-to-day life, and then practice it over and over until it becomes real. I can only tell you that I've experienced this because when I first moved to Brooklyn, hold on one time, I realized that you need first, second, last month's rent, security deposit, and a broker's fee just to move into a new apartment. So for me, that was like 10 grand. And then I needed at least another 10, 15 grand for furniture and travel and transportation, all that. So then I realized, okay, I have to practice all the stuff in order to get that reality. So I was always trying to be fun, be funny, be creative, even though I wasn't at that reality yet. And then after I think about a year of consciously, you know, take some time for me to do it, because, you know, when I first started out, I was like guessing, but then I got better and better and better. And then I just became super clear and super focused. And then I was in Chicago for a job. Then I got a call from Saks Fifth Avenue, and they're like, we have this job in 4 days. We need you to come shoot a social media video. And I was, great, I can do it. Like, let's meet Monday. The shoot was on, like, I think Wednesday. And then she's like, the budget's $25,000. So then I realized I was living in that frequency to attract it. And then from that, I also was like, fashion photography, you can make at least $150,000 a year. I was living that frequency, knowing that that was my goal. And then that first job led me to moving into my first place, having everything I needed to pay for it. And then each job after that was at least like 20 grand. So then my first 2 years living in New York, I was making probably like $150,000 to $250,000 a year. And now, just because I was living that frequency, I was practicing this spiritual knowledge. And, you know, there's times where I've lost my focus and lost my frequency, but I felt like those things also happened to me because I needed to learn something else new about myself. Or I wanted to create a bigger and newer neuronet. So I had to realize all the things in my life that I was focused on that didn't exist there. You know, and for me, that was like being insecure, not having confidence enough to like embody and present like a more funny, silly part of me. So that all has been something that I've been transforming into by doing these like comedic spiritual skits, because I feel like in the spiritual community, there's not enough humor. Everyone's so serious, and it like kills me inside, because it's like, it's supposed to be the opposite of that. It's not about the knowledge that you preach, it's about practicing what you preach. And if you practice it, you have no fear. So there's no need to like preach. It's just about showing that you're living the example of living in this new frequency and new neuronet. And I just think it's hilarious to do that. So I am becoming that more in my content. You know, all my content has everything that you need to know knowledge-wise to transform. But I think the only thing that I'm now expressing is like, I'm done doing the old preachy sharing information, and now I'm more showing you the embodiment of living in that new frequency, showing you what's possible, showing you that new way of thinking and living and believing in yourself, so that you can see yourself in through me. So I hope this helps you to understand my new mission, vision, my new neuronet, so it can help you realize that I'm practicing this as much as I can to help you see that it's possible, and to see that, you know, if you let go of all this old neuronet programming, you can have the best experience of reality, of your dreams. And that takes just awareness. You really just need awareness to start with, then practicing, letting go of everything outside of you for a while, and looking within, like, what do I want? What do I need? Rather than what's everyone telling you. Because these are all distractions. These are all lower frequency realities. So you can either choose to stay at those lower frequencies, or be like, actually, I don't want that. I need to focus on myself and my new frequency, my new neighborhood, my new neuronet that I want to live in. Thank you guys again for watching and joining this. I hope to do more of these. And, you know, I only say hope because I also hope to be really busy. But I hope this will help, this energy that I'm presenting and offering to you will help you think more about how you want to transform your reality with just this process. This is the process of transformation. I've just laid it out to you. So now that you know it, you can also take it and start doing it yourself. You don't need to do this film or have this experience, because now you know it. But if you want a tool, I would love to help you. So, so there it is, yeah. So thank you guys again for watching. Again, this is Billy from 58 Magazine, and thank you for learning about my future self experience and my new service that I'm offering to you in an inspiring, transformative short film. And again, you can learn more by joining my 58 membership, where there's weekly guided meditations and this session to help you keep operating from a higher frequency to then match a new desired reality. So thank you guys again so much, and I hope to see you guys soon, either at my next guided meditation or these bi-weekly sessions. All right, guys, have a great day.